Alright. Alright. We can do that. Alright, life should be good. We should be up on firing on all cylinders. He's working! Yeah. Alright, so the end for this project, which you can't see because I'm a good streamer and I know which buttons to press. So, I know this doesn't look like much, but let's start from the top. So, on the left, we are getting the auto docks finished. Unfortunately, actual full auto documentation is a little difficult with this project. It seems that if you want to include numerical libraries and write a read the docs package, you run against the what is it? The complexity budget. So that's kind of a problem. I'm just going to go put a issue. I just put an issue on the project to go deal with it. There might be some other answers. Let's actually go look at that. That didn't work. Why didn't that work? Oh, because I put them backwards. So we're going to go ahead and... It's not even showing up. That is showing up. Okay. We're just making sure we capture the problem here on GitHub so that we can follow it up. And it's in the project that it's actually going to work on. Otherwise, Today's project is Prosper Data Reader, which is taking a page out of Pandas Data Reader, which is a library for getting real-life stock information. We are not stealing their format, unfortunately, because the way the guy wrote it, I understand why he did it, and maybe I will come around and just add my stuff to Pandas Data Reader as opposed to write mine like Pandas Data Reader. It expects a certain class structure that is heavy, and I don't really want to do it. There's this inheritance that it does, and I understand again why it does it. It helps control like what endpoint gets what address, and it inherits it so that like there's sort of a fallback route, and it's very skookum. Unfortunately, we're not doing it because that's a buttload of work. Also, they really should have looked up dem.json because yeah, parsing bad JSON is not fun. So where we are is we are almost done. So let's see, we can go look at the stocks real quick. Let's start at utils. We're all done with the generic utils, that is NLTK support, which lets us get grades on strings, so we can know about positive, negative, neutral sentiment on strings. I wish we could do something stronger. There's NTL, NSC. There's an emotional spectrum analysis library. Unfortunately, it's not built into NLTK, so it's going to take some research to figure out how to get it into Python. It seems that there's already a library for R, but there's not one for Python, which sucks because everything should be in Python. And NLTK is a great platform. It just, they do a crummy job allowing you to export it. So next we have the stocks feed, which, let's see if I can share that, what that looks like. So the layout of the project here on the right, which I know is tiny, teeny tiny, and I am very sorry, is that Data Reader is the library, and then there's a bunch of library globals, which are where the utils, the exceptions, any project global variables go in config. Version helps us track and share version information, and it is not used in this case, it's just there. Next we have stocks, and this allows us to expand the library in the future by adding different groups of sub-libraries. So if we wanted an Eve one, we're going to add, Eve on this level. If we wanted to add Albion, we add Albion. If there's any other sort of direct feed that we need generic access to, this is how we're going to do it. This sort of everyday, put it in a table kind of thing where we expect several different projects to use it. That's where we're going to write it here. I don't want to go here for everything because it's hard to know when you start what's going to be valuable everywhere and what is just a hacky bullshit thing. And it's sort of a graduation, like the path I've taken so far is kind of a graduation one, where you start with something that's hacky bullshit, and you see if it works, and you just sort of get it running, and you make it just sort of hack it together, duct tape and bubble gum. And then as you go back and go, well, man, I wish I had that news feed. I keep needing it in, this feed and that feed, and man, rewriting this thing sucks. So when you get to that point, then we can move it to Data Reader, and we can say like, oh, well, I know I want to go parse ESI data, and well, I mean, yeah, I need ESI for this, I need ESI for that. when do we make a generic? I don't want to write all of ESI, you know, an entire Swagger interface to start on any project. But if we're just going to use 2 or 3 or 4 feeds, and we just need to make sure that they stay at a high quality, then this is why we do it. And then the second reason we're doing it this way is that it lets us go put, it lets us get test coverage thanks to Travis over here. Oops. And thanks to Travis, we can watch, we have some tests that go through expected schemas. And so using JSON schema as a platform, that lets us watch each of the endpoints we rely on and double check that the data is always good. And if the API changes, then the Travis build that builds automatically weekly will notify via email that something is broken, and the build will turn red and we can go fix it. Skimmy is asking, do you think we've had a good amount of ISK sync in the past month because of the wars? We won't know until the MER hits, which I believe will be Monday. I have been holding off getting new data run until the MER comes out because I'm just going to pull everything. I'm going to write up a whole report because I think it's an important quarterly line, I guess is the best way to put it. So I have some thoughts about where we'll be. I fear that we won't see the destruction stats we really need to see to really have long-term stability. But you know, I'll take what I can get at this rate because we've had a recent rash of just nothing, and it makes me cranky. So with that, let's get what the last piece we need to do is make sure that this test coverage report gets back to 100%. We moved some things. We've got some failing tests because of the way I reworked it. And yeah, so let's get that. Let's get working on that and get it finished. Really need to zoom in that Eve view, don't you think? There, that might be a little better. We can actually see some of the ships. Yay, seeing the ships. So that should be fun, hopefully. Again, this gives us coverage so that we don't have to worry about it. What we're doing here with all of this work is offloading our worries that something will break by letting the systems cover for us, essentially. We write all of these tests so that we can offload the brain power complexity and go, well, I mean, if the test works, it's probably okay. Until the test turns red, I don't have to worry about it because my coverage is so high. And as long as you know, build it out right the first time, then you can make the subsequent changes are much simpler. So we're gonna need to rewrite this whole class, I believe. 56, yeah, this is the one we have to rewrite. And I've just done classes to keep them grouped so that you can collapse and work on what needs to be worked on. The other thing I need to think about is moving all of the schema tests to one place so that one test file runs all the schemas, but the way that the news endpoints work, they have to be pre-processed to get to schema because they're fucking ancient and they're not valid JSON. So we'll see if I get there. I might just add a to-do and get around to it eventually. It's not something stopping us from 1.0 release. And again, if you have code questions, if you have Eve questions, feel free to ask them. I'm sorry I don't have more econ news this week. I really wish. I was really pushing to try and get the Myrrh. I was pushing as hard as I could to get the Myrrh covered by this weekend, so I could just write the report this weekend and then have it on your guys' desks on Monday, and we could, you could get a sneak peek this weekend, but I really want to see the liquidity report before I start writing any words about it, because that's gonna color where things are going in the short term, in the medium term, until Eve Vegas, essentially. And you guys might want to actually be able to read what's on the screen. There, we'll make it big. Better? I hope that's a better resolution. It's almost high enough def, right? I'm good at this, I promise. There we go, collapsed. So, again, this is trying to keep things simple. We only have a few functions to test. We just have the fetchers, some validators, and the actual requirement. This isn't returning. Yeah, I gotta make that return pandas. I think that's all of the... Oh. So first step is to sort of identify what needs to be written so we can just write it and do the work in one straight go. The other one is... Alright, the last thing we need to do is... oh, and then we need... So Martin Sunrise on Twitch is asking if we're moving away from Eve markets into real ones. So I'd like to get there, but the reasons I want to go there are a little bit different than what people might expect. I have done enough reading to realize how little I know, and I want to partially do the research with you guys so we can go, take that journey together. But I also would like to be able to work on the data science services kind of stuff if I were going to sell a package. There are a lot of things to enable data science that I think need to be done and are being done poorly. So that's the primary goal. The secondary one is real-life market data. There is a truckload of it, and it's easy to get our hands on and to share it. So we're going to use that as our vehicle to get there, if that makes any sense. So I feel you for how expensive market data is, but like those top tier intraday millisecond feeds that are 10,000 a month are like even if I had the money for it, even if somebody just wrote me a blank $1 million check, I couldn't use it, right? Like we cannot run at that speed, and people don't really show just how much work it goes into those systems. Like, so I have a high frequency trader friend. He works as a network engineer, and he was telling me that, like, in their data center, for those $20,000 feeds or the $50,000 microwave feeds, that the Ethernet line comes into the data center and it doesn't get read on the TCP/IP stack. They just read the raw bits off the metal and pass it into I always forget what they're called. They're not ASICs, but programmable logic. I always forget what they're called. And like it's written below assembly line to do the sort of millisecond trading. And like I'm writing Python. I can't do sub-millisecond on Python. But what I can do are things like natural language processing on Twitter feeds. So we can do sentiment analysis. We can do aggregation of lower level feeds and do correlations on those feeds. We can do we can zoom in on a specialty and make enough for it to be worth our time, but not have to run in the major leagues like I'm some $1 million quant, because it's not going to happen. I am not that guy. I don't know. I'm not getting a PhD in statistical machine learning algorithms. We're going to go, but like the thing I have found in the last year that sets me apart from my my cohorts is systems. And I look like death on the stupid webcam. Hold on, give me a sec. There we go. Now I look less like a alien. Okay. So like the thing I have grown a specialty in the last year is infrastructure and distribution. So what I can bring to the table is the ability to get more out of your $1 million quants, because the system lets them iterate quickly, lets them deploy securely, lets them understand that the thing that they did is trustworthy, ready to go, and out there, and build those pipelines up so they can do research, so they can release products, so they can know that quality is high. Like, that's not frontline sexy, but it's like the difference between top tier players and middle tier players in the software engineering world. So especially since a lot of the academic programming guys write awful code, and it's all just an amalgam of a script here and a script there, and a hope and a prayer that it won't all fall apart, and getting systems so that you know what's deployed, you know what your quality looks like, you know how to release with high quality, and you know how to release without it taking without a bust factor of negative, like a bust factor where one guy gets hit and the whole thing goes to shit. That's where I slot in. So we didn't break import, which is good. Okay, looks like we've got... Oh, hey, Hibiki! Welcome back again. How goes life? Is home life working out? Hopefully staying cool out there. I haven't been doing anything, so yeah, it's all work here. Okay, so we have the framework working, we have this whole setup. This is not exactly what I want to see. Oh, we got disco party going on. Okay, so the report is looking like we expect it to. We have some coverage to work on. We have a little bit of code to write. No problem. We gotta fix the logger. Oh, I'm actually halfway good at this. Okay. So I don't have to fix the logging messages. Goody. We just have to push this into Panda's data frame. So that's going to be a really easy function to write. Okay, let's write tests. We know that the functions at least don't crash the system. Let's write some tests. So we're gonna grab this one. So that test gives us coverage into the raw schema coming off of Google. We already have one for... oh, shit. So this function needs to change to... That should do it. So let's make sure that works. Okay, that one fails, that's fine. Oh, right, the... Go, that should do it. Right, we're green on that. That's good. Wiggle Wobble, yeah, killing ships is not an ISK sync, but the added industrial activity is a needed sync. So we need some amount of ISK syncing. We actually do need a bunch of ISK syncing, and that doesn't really solve our problem. But what we need more of is material syncing for as much material as going around since the Rourke buff back with Ascension. So yeah, ISK is not the only fountain out there, and there's a lot of systems that need to be in balance, and getting stuff destroyed at least gets ISK moving, and moving ISK is happy ISK. Okay, so okay, good. I did right things for that. As long as war is going on, Tech 2 ships can be a really great boon. Otherwise, follow whatever the hottest commodities are. There's a bunch of equipment that is really hotly needed in wartime and is hard to ramp up. So stuff like bombers and interceptors and interdictors are really great Tech 2 industrial things to do. Otherwise, of course, good old-fashioned war profiteering if you have access to the jump freighter routes. You shouldn't be doing it alone, but if you are already attached to a coalition in wartime, you should absolutely be utilizing the jump freighter network for maximum profits. Alright, we need... Where is my... I have a test for this. So, Martin Sunrise is asking, been gone from Eve for a while with Citadels, can you buy stock in the structure and then relist if you don't have docking access? So you should have asset access to any Citadel that you have materials inside of. And if you cannot get them out, I believe there is what's called asset safety. But do note that you may not be able to purchase items inside a Citadel because of market access roles. Can keep you from getting items in there in the first place. And so Wiggle Wobble's asking, what are we coding? And so there is a... Oops. So if you want to write IRL market stuff as a amateur, there's this great tool called Panda's Data Reader, which puts common market feeds into Panda's data structures. Makes it really easy to just grab whatever data you need. And so I wanted to steal a page out of that book and add some of the common stuff I've been using in the last, let's say, 6 months, and get that into a standardized data format so that I can capture that data on everything every time. Also, so I can put some tests around it so that if things break, we can... fuck me. You do have pandas enabled, don't you? Oh, don't. Derp. So the goal here is to capture, like I said, is to get schemas on everything that we consume so that we can use Travis to tell us when things break. And we can use the same, we can collect all of the utilities we use on a regular basis in one place under one big umbrella that says, well, it will always return, you know, the products will always return this data type, and we will write a thing that gets you there. So that's the plan here. Semper Tyrannis is asking, as someone looking to learn some coding, what language would you start with? I like pandas. Oh, for fuck's sake. I like Python, what we're seeing here. It's my jam. And that's going to be extraordinarily popular. The other popular starting languages are JavaScript, but I have words about JavaScript. I don't really like to do the thing. Compiled languages, if you wanted to do more serious coding as a business, you should learn compiled code, but that is a long way to go for not a lot of benefit. So if you're just hacking, I like scripting languages. If you really just want to do run the fastest with the least amount of stuff, Perl will get you there. But if you want to do that, that should be pretty. Why is that not pretty? But yeah, if you so learning other languages. So if you're just starting, I believe that getting your 10,000 hours is the most important thing as a new coder, and that it is academic to wonder whether you should be writing Java or C or JavaScript or Python. If you are expecting to make a job of it, expecting to go to a boot camp, expecting to actually get paid in a 10-year career path, you should learn compile. You should probably start with something compiled and move yourself down to something not compiled. Why isn't that working? But for personal use, I really like Python. I find it easy. It thinks in the same way my brain thinks, and there's a lot of really powerful tools and an incredibly open community. If you're looking for something more performance, if you're kind of a nuts and bolts guy, if you like tinkering with your car to the point of absurdity, then something like Go might be more up your alley. And if you're looking to do website stuff, you should probably learn JavaScript, because that is what every browser talks in. So if you want to make pretty apps, JavaScript is going to be your easiest way to get there. So we are getting here. This column map is not working. Why is the column map not working? So I really like Python. It makes it really easy to go very fast. It makes it very easy to go grab other people's work and stand on the shoulders of giants. You'll still be, there's still a lot of work to do. You still need to learn to write Python like Python. So learning Python, if you already know how to code, I liked Learn Python the hard way, except that the guy who writes that has a anti-Python 3 bend, and he is wrong. Python 3 is the future, and you just need to go do it. There's a lot of easy stuff to learn in Python. So yeah, the so if I were getting into it raw and bare, I like Codecademy for a complete newbie perspective, just to learn the syntax. The next problem you're going to have, because I have a protege at work I'm walking through, is getting access to projects to be inspired. And I think that the PyCon talks on YouTube are probably going to be the best place to sort of get inspired for things to also look into, because the syntax isn't the problem. The syntax is important, but you need to find a way to get 1,000 hours of work done to actually be able to master something, right? And Codecademy gets you running and gets you it's like dropping you in a foreign country, and you've learned enough to at least ask where the bathroom is, and to order your food and get directions and get a taxi or that kind of thing. Like, you can do the really basic stuff, but you can't have conversations until you immerse yourself and learn the language, as it were. So finding projects that tickle you, that you can go download and play with, go play with Jupyter notebooks if data science is your thing, or go check out one of the cool projects I'd love to go dig into if time were no thing. The astronomy community is basically all Python at this point, and they are using Python as a way to fight the reproducibility crisis in science. Because everything is packaged with the paper, and you can rerun their results to see how they got their results, and you can mess with their data because it's public and raw, and the whole thing is designed to be able to be run by any Joe Schmo. So it's stuff like that I think you need to think about once you know the basic language, so you can do dangerous things. Getting the inspiration to actually do dangerous things is the hard part. And there's going to be, when you dig into Python, there's going to be the 2.7 versus 3.x fight, and the TLDR is if you're writing something new, it should be in 3.x, the latest Python. There are a lot of really great things going on in Python 3.6 and in slated for 3.7. And if you have to support legacy, you just have to support 2.7. Anybody who gives you shit that Python 3 is a fad can go right into the same curmudgeonly old thing where your parents said the internet was going to be a fad. I'm not using keep Google links anymore, am I? It's not doing anything. So we're gonna drop it. If you're a puzzle, if puzzles are your thing, there are some really cool code puzzle working sites, and if you really want to get like the professional CS chops, that's the rocket ship to get those. I should go. There was one on Talk Python to me that I forget the name of it. It's like Brick.io, maybe. I don't remember. Because, like, so if you just want to hack stuff together, like get a Raspberry Pi, go to town, no big deal. There's a million projects you can do, hobby work for years and years. If you want to get professional, there are some ways that you need to think, and if you want to get trained in that, you have to do some puzzle solving to understand sort of how to think like a computer. Things like when do you use loops, how to minimize loops, how to maximize straight line performance. These are things that are important in the biggest, longest terms, but like are 1% sort of things. And like if you're just learning, like the fact that you get a computer to understand from your brain to the screen that it does a thing is way more important than like some snob coming in and going, well, actually, you did this in n squared time when it's absolutely a linear time NP problem, a linear time P problem, and like, just don't listen to those assholes. Performance is the last thing you worry about because computers are very good at doing the same thing over and over very fast. Your time is precious, theirs is not. Okay, let's save that progress. And then we just have to write these. Oh, and then we need Robin Hood tests. Yeah. My number one tip for anybody wanting to learn the stuff is that you're going to have the most success if you can get the dopamine running through small successes, which is why the thing that kills me watching friends do this is that like they'll go to Codecademy, they'll spend like 2 weekends or something really blasting through all the Codecademy stuff, really feeling like they're getting stuff done. And then they'll get on the end of that pipeline and go, now what? And they'll either be all amped to say, oh, I'm gonna go write a whole big app, it's gonna be amazing, I'm gonna be the next millionaire Flappy Bird maker, and then they get stuck in development hell because they just picked a 10,000 line 1,000 working hours project that doesn't have a lot of small parts. They don't really have the project management chops to get through this. I'm going to build a robot that plays Grand Theft Auto, which is a thing you can do, but there's a guy who's done 100 hours on YouTube showing off his machine learning algorithm for that. So, like, these are not small projects. You got to keep the dopamine flowing, so that's little projects, that's little games to get your code chops up, that's little like Discord bots that look up the price of an Eve item, for instance, might be a thing to do, or that get the latest kill mail off of Zkillboard. These little itty bitty apps that, you know, have a very small things I don't know quotient, will set you up for success so that you can get through the bad projects, because you just, there's nothing to get around the number of hours you have to work to master something. Like, it doesn't matter if it's martial arts or fly fishing or sports or programming or writing, you have to do 10,000 hours to become a master. And you have to do 1,000 hours to be good at it. But you're not going to get there if your first 1,000 hours is just hacking on a shitty project that you hate. Yeah, Mohawk36 on YouTube is making some good points that digging into how and why it's working. Again, if that's your thing, and I completely understand if it is, digging into the underpinning workings is going to be better in Java language than it is going to be in a Python language. The Python source is open, but thinking Pythonically requires more training. It's just there's quote unquote good Python looks a certain way, and training yourself to read it takes a little bit extra effort. Going there is totally worth it because the code gets much smaller, more of it fits in one view, and some of the classing structures save yourself a lot of trouble down the line. But for instance, if I had taken Mohawk's route, through Python. I probably would have quit Python because there's a lot of abstract classing that goes on that can get really confusing. The list comprehensions can be hard to read if you don't know what you're looking at. There are some gotchas in production Python code that make it a little bit harder to work with. So I am a top-down kind of guy, which is why Python was great for me. If you are a bottom-up kind of person, Java is going to be probably a better place to go look into. I personally get frustrated with a lot of stuff that's like, oh well, you gotta build the entire bridge and the road and the thing. Like, we live in the future. I don't have to do all that stuff. 1,000 people have come before me, and I should stand on their shoulders instead of do it myself. But again, that's me. Alright, running the tests. We expect that one to fail. That's okay. Alright, oh man, we are getting really close to done here. I really wish that test didn't take that long, but that's fine. This test is actually one of the longer ones, for as little as it is one of the more important ones because, so if you go onto our Discord and use !price and then a stock ticker, it will tell you the latest but it didn't. Oh, that one failed. Why'd that one fail? Oh, because this one's out of order. Okay, I know how to do that. I don't fix this. That's fine. And the way that it does the magic And the way it does the magic is that it uses the Vader lexicon from NLTK to match up positive and negative headlines with positive and negative stock results, so that when it tells you a stock price, it also gives you a article in the feed that says this is probably why. Its hit rate is kind of crappy, and this work is actually going into trying to fix that. Part of that is that it doesn't understand after hours. Can't do after hours without Robinhood. There's a yeah, it's basically just the after hours thing. I want to also train it how to do corpse speak, but I need to figure out how to train a lexicon of my own, and the tool I use to start working on that, I did a bad job and I have to do it again because I am bad and I should feel bad. Oh, there's one other thing I want to fix before we release. We are not excusing that for not having coverage. It should have coverage. So these should be the last two tests we have to write to count this as complete. Then we'll do a pass over the docs to make sure they're up to date. And then we will draft a release, get it up onto PyPI, and call this sucker done. It'll be nice to have it finished. It always feels good to finish a project. There are a couple of hanging chads to work on. Namely, the after hours tool is kind of shitty, and it needs another look, but that is not a thing that will stop us from releasing 1.0. One of the traps of development is that nothing is ever perfect. You know, you're always touching it up and you never release. I'm still not very good at minimum viable products that we can actually release the smallest actual thing. Mostly because when I release a 1.0, I really want to be proud of that 1.0. I want it's more a issue on my quality perspective, because I want to make sure that when I release it, that people can use it and their first impression is not a bad one, because I want to push 1.0 to PyPI. Okay, that should be the last one we need. And like I said, we'll just go through the docs to make sure, like I said, the docs reflect what our options are. I'm actually really happy with the docs. I just wish we could use the function auto documentation, but I got to figure out how to fix that. Well, that's good news. Everybody's green. Booyah! And we will take 98%. That is fine. Cool. So, next step. Next step is docs. That's the docs. Boo. Dual Rep on Twitch is asking, what are we watching? You're watching me write a tool for Python that will help us generically gather data so that all our apps can use the same fetchers, and release that in as a production application on PyPI. So that everything is there in production, tested, and trustworthy. Because the data, this tool powers our statistical engine. It's part of the whole Prosper project. This set of data is real-life data, but it will be expanded to cover EVE Online in the next update, or one of the next updates. Really wish the tables looked a little bit better on this page. I don't feel like the H1 and H2 coverage is separated enough, but I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to make it better other than switching out the entire style sheet. We can drop that. We can drop that. Yeah, let's drop that. Also, of course, if you have EVE economic questions, that is what Prosper is here for. So this just keeps me at my desk so you guys can ask questions. I had a project to finish, so... All right, that's a project. I think we're actually ready to press the release button. So what's going to happen right now is we're going to, so the first thing that's going to happen is automation is going to pick up the build, and it's going to make sure that the internet agrees, and it's not just my internal configurations that work, that it works on, you know, anybody else's machine. Second thing that's going to happen is read the docs is going to get updated, and we're going to make sure that it is up to date. Looks like the latest is up, so we can view that here on the main page. The patron button actually works when it's not running locally. Things are looking pretty good here. Let's click through. I do want to add one more thing. How do I add that one more thing? Oh, I know how to do that. Okay, I'm following. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay, so now we have that updated. We're going to push that last update. So things look good here, not just on my machine. We're going to do... Okay, so now those should look the same. Alright, so that should be more pretty now. Okay, docs should be up. Life is good. We go here, things look the same. I really wish that loading was a little less shitty, but that is their fault, not mine. So docs look good. We just have to wait for the build to come back passing, and we can write a release. And actually, we can start writing the release now, assuming that we're going to be okay. We should update README as well before we release, right? Right, of course. Okay, so that should be better. One of these. So we have a pretty GitHub, which will release to PyPI. We have pretty docs. We like the docs. We're waiting for this to finish because every time I push, it's going to run again. And it's going to take 7 stinking minutes because 3.7 takes forever to install pandas. Holy crap, taking forever. Seriously, pandas on 3.7. They're gonna have to do something about that because this is gonna break me. No, I'm on call next week. Fuck. Okay, we need to let the, like I said, we gotta let the testing finish, but this should automatically go straight to PyPI once the button's pressed. Oh geez, Drezel, I am afraid of functional languages. I've been doing a little bit, I've been getting my feet a little bit wet in using Python for functional programming, but oh man, that melts my brain just a bit. I know at some point I have to learn it. Coconut is supposed to be a Pythonic wrapper, or it is written in Python and it does all the functional stuff, so that if I'm gonna, especially if you're gonna write a bot that needs to, you know, make decisions in real time, functional programming makes a lot more sense than linear traditional programming. Here's the exciting part of dev, is waiting for tests to finish. Yeah, there's a lot of Scala guys at my company, and they try to talk me into it. I just don't have a problem that needs it yet, so like I want to. So one of the things that I absolutely adore with Python is that the distribution platform is sort of built in, and the getting that all set up in another language means that I either have to wrap it in something I know, or learn a new distribution platform, which is fine. Writing installers sucks, and if I never have to write another installer, it will be too soon. Here goes. Turning green. No whammies, no whammies. Mostly because I don't want to have to install the production, the build for Python 3.7. But we should be green in like one more minute, and then I can press the release button, and then we can be on PyPI and be big damn heroes. And that would be a green. All green, all good. Sweet. One 1.0. So again, we'll have to give that 5 more minutes to chooch, and then we should be good. It could be so much more. Like, I still need to add Eve data to it. I have a group talking about wanting Albion data in it. And we can get there, but that wasn't required for 1.0. 1.0 coverage was so that the bots had a way to fetch the data they need. And that will help us here so that everything can be just in time and no database needed and no writing another REST wrapper for the 5th fucking time. Also, it keeps all our dependence. It cleans up our dependency tree a lot. So we can have the this version float whatever its dependencies are, so that when the weekly or daily cron job runs, it can fail, and we can be like, oh well, do we update for that library to be compliant, or do we peg that release and don't allow anything past it? So the whole purpose here was to get something down so that it can be running in a cron on Travis, so that I can believe in its quality. It can just break when something has to break, and I don't have to think about it. Like, I always get annoyed when I was working at my last job about test. It was like, well, test shouldn't fail. I'm like, no, the whole point of test is to fail. They're there to go and tell you when something goes wrong. I can make all tests pass. That's the easy part. Getting useful data so that they fail usefully is the art of it. So I think people need to be less afraid of tests failing. They're tests. They're supposed to fail. You just have to have a high enough quality bar. So we wait. We should be on PyPI now. 1.0, baby! Booyah! So there it is, 1.0. It's out there in the world. You can run it. You can read the docs. We have docs. We have support buttons. I wish I could I need to get the auto docs fixed. That's the last thing I need to do, but read the docs is really stingy about resources, so I got to figure out how to build something that has big numerical libraries in it. Pandas has just been killing me. Hopefully I can get that fixed. But yeah, we have docs, we have everything pretty. It even has the cute little favicon. We look like a real dev over here, right? We have pretty high coverage. I reduced coverage because of a thing, which is fine. Let's see if it shows me where the red is. There it is. Yeah, we have no coverage here in the extended open area because I think this logic needs to be reworked. That can be a bug fix. It shouldn't gate release. We at least get a valid number in most cases. It's just that I didn't realize when I wrote it that there are actually 3 regimes per day, and there's a little bit of funkiness between holiday and not holiday trading that I have to go just account for. So I'm okay with that being red just as a fix me thing. But yeah, we have a project. This should be green in like 10 more minutes because this takes forever. But yeah, that's a project. And we released straight from GitHub, which is the really cute thing. As soon as you press the release button here, it just goes to the internet, and yeah. It's a cool project. I'm proud of the work. It came together a lot faster than I expected. Not as fast as I was hoping, but I'll take faster than expected. So no promises I'll be back next week. Still have one more big piece of work to get done before we can talk about a new show, and that is the database stuff. I'm working on the last few pieces behind the scenes to get back up and running, so we can start talking about having like a dev fleet podcast. I have a little bit, so the master plan for everybody who's still tuned in is at least have the roadmap finished for Prosper Warehouse 1.0 release. There's still one big piece, and then the integration testing to get that done. There's also cookie cutters that need to be developed for that to be 100% complete. So that's one thing. Number two is try to get 4 or 5 episodes in a pipeline just so I can start messing with show formats and start getting back on the horse for broadcasting to you guys. I think I have a plan. I'm not sure how well it's going to work out. Again, just coming into it solo. I'm still worried that the topics are too dry to just be able to stand on my own wit and gravitas. So we'll see how that ends up going. I have some ideas. I was hoping to go find a partner, but it's been so hard to find someone who's willing to go 10 shows and not just 2 shows. Like, guests are easy to find, partners are hard to find. And then last, I need to figure out some paperwork so that once we relaunch, we can turn on the Patreon again, and I don't have to pay. I have to go do some work to make sure that it gets paid out correctly, so I don't get screwed on taxes. Because I almost got screwed last year by it, and let's not get screwed by the tax man. So I think that makes it a show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully we got your questions answered. Hopefully some of this code stuff was at least kind of interesting. I find it interesting, but we all know I have brain damage. I'm hoping that the MER releases tomorrow, so that I can go get a blog out for you guys. But I just got the page that I'm going to be on duty at work for uptime, so we'll see how the week goes. I really want to get a quick turnaround on a MER thing, because I've been getting a lot of questions from people, and I can still answer those questions. There's nothing stopping me. I just need to, do it and put all the pieces together. I didn't want to release ahead of, because I think there's going to be enough information to. There could still be surprises, I guess is the best way to put it. And I wanted to be the most intellectually honest as I could be for you guys, because, well, so few people are these days, right? Like serious fuck is nobody intellectually honest anymore. So we'll at least get some data together, and we can start talking about the test war and actually get some stuff done. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We should be back again soon. I don't know when, but I will be back. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support on this silly side project. I will be back. Thank you again. Ciao.